What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Classic Octane. I am Taylor. I wanted to throw together a quick build overview video of the CB550 before it goes back to the customer. This is the white CB550 you guys saw a couple of videos ago. If you didn't see that video, I will throw a link to it in the description below. This bike came in and had some questionable modifications done to it in the past. Somebody got a hold of it and just kind of welded on some plate steel random places, and it just kind of needed a lot of cleanup. The wiring harness was completely shot. It was kind of just a hodgepodge of wires run around. None of the handlebar controls were hooked up to anything. Those wires were just chopped and electrical taped. So it just needed some love. It needed some TLC, a kind of a complete go through, make sure all the systems are kind of operational. And that's exactly what we've done, as well as obviously a decent amount of cosmetic changes as well. So let me just kind of start in the front and we'll just work our way all the way back, and I'll kind of tell you guys what I did, and if anything kind of varies from like the 7-day build or some other 550s I've done in the past, I will try to point those out. So we'll start from the front. This bike already had new tires put on. We did go ahead and paint the wheels black, pulled and painted the lower fork tubes black as well. Took a stock front fender, chopped probably a total of 12 inches off of it, painted it the same midnight blue that we painted the gas tank. We ran the MCO aluminum headlight mounts with a brand new headlight. Mini speedo with the indicators built in. This particular customer opted for Clubman style bars. So we've got some black Clubmans on here. Let's see, we run the standard kind of bar end mirrors, brown grips to match the brown tough side seat. The wiring harness for this bike, like I said, was completely shot. So we started with a complete OE replacement wiring harness that I hooked up to all of these original handlebar controls, so everything is actually functional like it's supposed to be. You can actually shut the bike off with a kill switch, start it with a start button, crazy stuff like that. I did wire all of that in to work with the indicators inside of this universal light. Used one of my turn signal diodes as well, so that we can have the turn signal indicator on there. Went with small LED front bullet style turn signals. We relocated the ignition switch. Originally it was up here with kind of a big bulky late 70s, like a 77, 78 550 ignition switch. We swapped that to a slightly earlier model and then mounted it down here where you would traditionally find it in the kind of early to mid 70s, 500s and 550s. I like it there better. It's a little bit cleaner, and it lets you kind of mount that universal speedo right there in the center. So the gas tank that came on this bike was actually in pretty decent shape. It was a white color. It had a few kind of chips in the paint and some scratches and that kind of stuff, but it wasn't in terrible shape. But what we did is kind of sanded it down and repainted it with this metallic blue. I think it turned out really nice. It's a really good color combo with this brown seat. I will do a how-to video in the next couple of weeks of how I painted this gas tank. Like I mentioned in the last video, we will use my CB500 restoration bike to kind of show you how I get what I think are really good results at home without any crazy expensive tools and stuff, and the kind of steps that I go through to be able to replicate this. For the engine, it was already black, but it had a lot of peeling paint and kind of chips and all that kind of stuff missing off of it. So what I did is kind of touched up the main paint of the engine as best I could. We pulled off the sprocket cover and the clutch cover and blasted the paint off, and then vapor blasted them to have a nice kind of OE satin aluminum finish. The carbs were completely torn apart, full rebuild with vapor blasting, so those look brand new. We run our standard pod style filters on here. These are the foam ones that actually clear the frame. If you try to do a more kind of a traditional cone style pod filter, it will just kind of get bunched in here. And that's what actually came on the bike when it came in, with some K&N filters that were just wedged in here. So these actually fit properly. We didn't have to do anything with charging system or anything like that. The chain was replaced somewhat recently, so we didn't have to dive into that either. So I think we can actually move on to the back of the bike. So for the back of the bike, we'll start from the top. We have a tough side seat. This is the Honda size. This is the one with the upswept back section, which I like quite a bit. So what I did is actually made a frame hoop to match. And then if you can see on the very back here, we sectioned in an LED strip that is the signals and brake and tail light. So that's all kind of in there, nice and super clean. Under that seat is a custom battery box that we made that houses a lithium-ion battery, brand new voltage regulator rectifier, again all the rest of the wiring harness, proper starter solenoid, flasher relay for LEDs, all the typical stuff you would find. It's all nicely kind of stuck in there, and the battery box being black kind of disappears, especially if you were, to look at the bike when it's on the ground. From a higher angle, you can almost not see the battery box at all, which of course is the goal, is to keep it as clean as possible. All the rest of these tabs and everything were shaved off. These are actually custom passenger foot pegs. I chopped these and made these out of foot pegs off of a 750 because this bike didn't have any, and this guy does plan to have an occasional passenger on this. So we wanted to make sure we had those kind of passenger foot pegs in place. We replaced the rear shocks. These are a little bit stiffer than a stock shock, but that will also help if there is a passenger on the back. I don't think they're too stiff to ride around town. They are adjustable as well, so you can get some kind of varying stiffness out of it. Just made a simple license plate mount, so the plate will mount vertically right here in front, or technically behind the shock. Rear tire was also replaced when the front one was, and the rear wheel was painted black to match. So the last few things, the exhaust. This is, I believe it's a Mac 4-in-1, came on the bike when it was delivered, but we did run one of our favorite mufflers, which is the Cone Engineering 12-inch universal shorty muffler. If you guys have seen any of the last like 10 builds that I've done, it's got the same muffler because I love it, and truthfully I haven't found anything better. It sounds really good. It's really good build quality. I like the size, the fit and finish. So we're going to probably continue to run these because I have no reason to change. The clutch cover we did blast, like I mentioned. I already talked about the carbs. Honda logos. I don't think I mentioned this on the other side. So we are going to be running these white, I believe these are 8, maybe 10 inches long, vinyl Honda logo on the side of the gas tank in this general position. Because they're vinyl, they'll be able to be peeled off and kind of changed in the future should the customer want to change the look. But this is the kind of style we wanted to go with. The stock logos were already shaved off of the gas tank when it came in. So instead of trying to replace those, we decided to go with this route. And then of course, like I just mentioned, it can be changed should the customer want to change up the look. So this is pretty much everything I can think of that we did to the bike. The idea behind this bike was the customer just wants a fun weekend rider. He does have another bike. I believe that's his more kind of commuter style bike. This is more of just a bar hopper, we're going to call it. And I'm excited that this customer is local because I expect and hope to see this bike out around town. Maybe we can meet up at some bike nights and stuff. I always like it when the customers are nearby and I can kind of check up on the bikes and make sure they're getting ridden and everything's working out the way it should. And should any issues arise, it's a lot easier to kind of sort them out if the customer is close by. So that's going to do it for this particular build. As you can see, it is similar to the 7-day build, which is why I didn't do a bunch of videos on the series itself. If you're curious about how I did certain things, I will throw a link to that 7-day build series. If you have not watched it, I encourage you to go check it out. I built a very similar bike to this, and I challenged myself to do it in a week. So check that series out. If you still have any questions or anything, feel free to leave a comment below. If you have a bike that you need work done on, feel free to hit me up in the comments, Instagram @ClassicOctane. You can email me, classicoctane@gmail.com. I do offer kind of mail-in carb rebuilds and that kind of stuff as well, so happy to help you guys out if I can. The next project that you guys are going to see a video on is the CB550. This is a kind of will it run, the bike hasn't run in a couple of years. Go through general maintenance, oil change, we're going to rebuild the brake system, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start work on that bike probably later today, and I think I'll just make one video kind of start to finish all the way through. And then I do have another vehicle coming in that's not a motorcycle that we're going to be doing some work on, and I'll see if you guys are interested in seeing some videos on that. And yeah, like I mentioned, we're busy. We got a lot of bikes in the works too. So you guys are going to be seeing a bunch more content. I hope I can continue to pump out videos for you guys, keep you entertained while you're stuck inside. I appreciate you guys watching as always. Subscribe, thumbs up, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys soon.